Hello and welcome to the Good Brothers Show, where we turn bold ideas into real world impact. I'm your host, John Valencia, President and CEO of Good Brothers Foundation. Here's what I know. Talent is everywhere, but opportunity is not. Across the country, employers are struggling to find skilled workers while millions remain unemployed. The gap doesn't close by accident. It closes through intentional leadership, smart systems, and equity-driven workforce strategies. On the show, we sit down with leaders building those systems, the innovators transforming nonprofits, workforce development, and community impact. If you care about economic mobility, leadership, and sustainable change, you're in the right space. Today, we're joined by Dr. Maxie Gluckman, Executive Director of Friends of Fundesur, a nonprofit mobilizing relationships and resources to expand opportunity for communities across Honduras. Maxie brings more than a decade of experience in education and international development with work spanning Latin America, the Caribbean, Africa, and Asia. Her career has focused on equity, inclusion, gender equality, humanitarian protection, and education in emergencies. And she has deep roots in Honduras, including work supporting teacher development in rural schools. We're super excited to talk with her about her work in education, health, the environment, livelihoods, and what it takes to build a lasting community-driven change mentality. Maxie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, John. Very happy to be here.
Maxie, I'm not just excited. I'm thrilled that you are here because you have been one of those amazing humans where I have just been in your orbit, and I feel grateful to be in that orbit. You've come to different events we've had. You've just been there, and your smiling face and your passion for what you do exudes every fiber of you as a human being. And I hope you know that because it's true.
Thank you so much. I mean, to be around you and your community just offers those spaces for us to thrive.
Well, I love it. So before we drive into all the strategy and all how we're going to solve the world's problems, I would love for us to do a quick lightning round so that our viewers can and listeners can get to know you a little bit. How does that sound?
That sounds great.
Okay. So are you a morning person or a night owl?
Morning.
Me too. Do you prefer a packed itinerary or wandering around with no plan?
In daily life, it looks a lot more packed, but in vacation, definitely wandering around with no plans.
Yeah, I love that. Favorite smell: fresh coffee, rain, ocean air, or baked bread?
I love the smell of coffee, even though I've never had it, which we could talk about at another time.
Sorry, what?
I used to work as a barista, and I've worked in Honduras for 12 years, but I like the smell. I've tasted it, but it's just I've never had a cup of coffee. It's not my thing.
So much to unpack there. I'm really excited about that. Okay, I love that. What's your most used emoji?
Like, let's go, raise whatever you want to call it, raise or thank you. I say thank you a lot.
Oh, a lot of this. Love
A lot
that.
of this. Thanks so much.
Would you rather be able to speak every language or play every instrument?
Definitely every language. I'm working on my third, and we'll see what happens after that.
What languages do you speak?
English, Español, and Francais.
What's one app you refuse to delete?
Probably FaceTime. I have a lot of friends all over the world, and it's a really great way to connect and make sure that you can have those face-to-face interactions.
I love that. Do you drive with music, podcast, or silence?
I've been trying to drive with silence, but it doesn't, as a meditative practice, it doesn't quite happen. So I did listen to some of your podcasts this past week. So depending on the day, music or podcast.
Okay, and on a more serious note, who or what inspires you?
Really the moment that a child learns to read or learns something new, just seeing that spark of energy and excitement in children has always been a huge driving force for myself as an educator and for my profession and personal life.
Thank you for sharing. All right, so now that we've warmed up and people know you a little bit better, let's rewind the clock for a moment. Every impact really matters and starts with a spark, right? And this idea, this frustration, this belief that we could do so much more in the world. So what happened in your life where you had that spark, where you had that moment of, "This might be who Maxie is or what Maxie can do for the world." Tell us about that.
Sure. So I started my career as a teacher. I did Teach for America out in Delaware. And I think you can ask anybody who knows me since I was 5 years old, I wanted to be a teacher. So that was all I ever knew. And when I moved out from California, I'm from San Diego, over to Delaware, I didn't really know what to expect as a bilingual elementary school teacher there. And I really was given the gift of community. It was something that growing up being first generation American, family living very far away, I never had, but I became immediately and very deeply ingratiated and connected to the students and families that I got the opportunity to work with. And all of them were from Central America and Mexico, had their own immigration and origin story. And they opened up a lot and shared about why they left their home countries, their history, their dreams and visions for their children. And that just really stuck with me and the opportunities and that I have growing up here and how we can continue to improve those spaces for children all over the world. So I would say that was the spark, that listening and hearing what others were struggling with and that they were willing to share that with me, and I wanted to take part in changing it.
Love that. So you grew up here in San Diego. Where'd you
I
go to
did.
school?
I went to Torrey Pines High School,
You did? Oh, I love a local. Us
and
natives are rare.
I went to UCSD for grad school, so also in that.
Yeah, I went to USD. Oh, I love that. Okay. So you did this, you realized like there's a passion. What took you to Delaware?
I really started in this career from a background as of an educator. So I have known since a very young age, I've always wanted to be a teacher, an educator in some sense. And that carried me into my first career choice in Teach for America, where I went out to Delaware and I was a bilingual elementary school teacher. Moved from San Diego across the country, and I was given the gift of community. What really stood out to me is that having grown up here, most of my family was in Canada or abroad. I really was directly embedded into the students and families. I got to go to the quinceañeras, to church with them, to their cumpleaños, and really just hear their stories of resilience and opportunity, and was really inspired by what they shared about their children and the opportunities they wanted for them and their migratory stories. And so that really stuck with me, being first generation here in the US and how that's changed my life. And so it took me in a trajectory career wise to really listening to what communities were willing to share with me and seeing how I could contribute to making the world a better place.
So when you say that, what inspired you like deep in your loins, right? To be like, I care. Because I think that a lot of our listeners are like, sure, I want to do that, but I'm not going to go help children in Honduras.
Why not?
You
You're
will,
welcome. Come on. Come on down.
right? But what is it innately into you as a human being that made you care so much? Where's
I
that
wish
come from?
I could answer that question because even, in family dynamics, I think I get asked that a lot, especially
Yeah.
when my parents heard that I was moving to Honduras. And you can
Yes.
imagine from
Well,
what we hear on the news what their reaction was. But I think a huge inspiration in my life is I was raised by support with a woman who was from Peru. And she became like my second mother. My parents were working a lot, and she really, from a young age, taught me about her experiences coming to the US and treated me like her child. And I have so much warmth and love for that. I don't think at the time I really recognized where that influenced my trajectory, but I owe a lot of who I am to Mariana and her love she gave to me. And I believe all children deserve that kind of love and opportunity and space. And I I just want to be able to help make that happen.
so was what was like your childhood like? Were you missing that, wanting that, needing that? Like, where did that come from? Like, we get a lot of people who listen to like this show to be like, well, I want to do good work, but I don't know what I could do. I'm busy and I've got a 40-hour work week. Something inspired you deeply. What was that? Like it was obviously this human who taught you and got you excited about opportunities, right? But then you had to make a leap of faith to go and actually move out of the country. Where does that come from? I love San Diego. I don't wanna even leave San Diego, let alone to Miami or any other city. What deeply inside you caused that catalyst?
Yeah. It's a really great question. I would almost flip that on its head and say that we all hear a lot of input and opportunities to give support every day. And we're making choices potentially in inaction to stay within what's comfortable. And there are many great change makers around the world, but it is just opening up to taking action for one of those things that's shared with you. And so I think I've always prided myself on being a really strong listener, and if I have an opportunity and I'm listening to community ask for support and I can do that, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I don't know where it comes from. I really wish I could tell you, but there's a lot of things in life that you
I
just
love that
go,
answer, honestly. I think that's the most sincere answer. For folks who might be listening and aren't watching us, you always have a shrimp pin on you. So I would love for listeners to be able to understand what's the deal with the shrimp?
besides it being cute and delicious, apologies to anyone who is allergic who listens to this.
That's
It's the
hilarious.
It's the origin of why I'm in the role I am today. So I'll share. Fundesur in Honduras has been doing incredible work for 12 years, supporting communities, education, and health, and we can dive into that. But it started because of shrimp. And the shrimp industries, which are the largest employers in the region, got together and committed to social impact. And so this is a really locally grown story of private sector engagement in Honduras. And for every shrimp pound that's exported, most of it at this point is exported to Asia and the UK, some in the US. If you want to be a shrimp buyer, contact me. Social Impact Shrimp. The organization has gotten a donation to support the communities that work in these industries. And so I'm here because of shrimp and I want to tell the little shrimp story. And find partners that want to partner with a really socially conscious private sector in Honduras to do great work.
So, a fun fact, I used to run the San Diego Oceans Foundation back many, many moons ago. Right. And we cared about very much about social impact and what does sustainable farming look like, especially when it comes to seafood.
Mhm.
And we found amazing restaurants here in San Diego who cared desperately about not overfishing and doing cool work. One of the things I will always laugh about, people would always ask, like, what do you do on a daily basis? And every day is so different. But at one point, I was going down to a fish pen, two fish pens that had 1,000 baby white sea bass in them and feeding them, hand feeding them until we got them about 3 inches long and we grew them to about 12 inches. And then we would hand release baby white sea bass into San Diego Bay. And people are like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know. Good. And it was great because now you can go right to a restaurant and find like white sea bass on there and know that like we were literally these volunteers and I were hand raising baby white sea bass so that we could actually help the population of white sea bass so that we can eat them again. Like, right? I was like, this is a wild thing to think, right? And you're wearing your little shrimp pin. I love this, right? I should have a baby white sea bass pin.
We'll get you one.
Right, right. But like, so something like that I was doing in 2008. I didn't really understand what I was doing, to be honest, right? I was this young CEO of a nonprofit being like, this is great work. We're doing great work. And now, many moons later, right, I can see the efforts of what we were doing and all these volunteers on a daily basis who've transformed the fishing industry, right? San Diego used to be the tuna capital of the world, but we overfished and we don't have any tuna anymore. That's crazy, right? But nobody thinks about that. So, okay, so taking this back to what you're doing, right? So shrimp.
Well, I think what you're talking about is the aspect of what it means to be a leader is to you do a little bit of everything and you got to trust the process of where that's going. And especially as a founding director of a new organization in the US, I'm creating the bank account. More the looking at the shrimp and watching them jump out of my hands is more so I understood the process. That's not actually going to help them grow and go for sale. There are experts on the ground that do that, but you have to be ready to do whatever it takes to make sure that you're supporting the things that you care about. And I
Yeah.
think it goes back to what you asked previously about who I am and what I care about. And I care about people, but I also care about uplifting those who know best what's happening. So Fundesur is entirely Honduran run. It will always stay that way. And I am supporting as a friend of. We're not recreating what's happening there. I just get to tell you about shrimp and excite you to join the cause and see how we can partner to support the great work that's already happening on the ground.
I love that. So, for a lot of our listeners, they have full-time jobs doing all sorts of things. They're probably zipping right now to a full-time job or taking kids to some sort of soccer practice or whatever it may be. That being said, I think a lot of our listeners want to know how they can help nonprofits. So, how could someone help you save the shrimping world?
Well, we talk a lot about shrimp, but we'll talk about turtles. You've seen
And
this one before.
turtles. I mean, you have a turtle story too. But, like, there's a lot happening across the world, and sometimes we get so honed in on what we do on a daily basis, right? We're taking care of our family and our friends and our loved ones and ourselves, and there's this part of us that cares about humanity and the world and the earth that we live on. And we want to do something. But what could we do, right? Someone in their everyday basis do to help support the amazing work that you are supporting down in Honduras?
I think that the avenues of support are to be a friends of voice, share with somebody that you think might want to know about the healthcare and education. Environmental is also is one of our four areas of work is happening, and share this podcast, share our website, grab a little turtle and sponsor a couple for friends that we support out of the Gulf. Of course, always donations are welcomed and just such a gift to continue to support our work. But especially now, we're about 6 months into our US launch. We really need just people to share the word, share the shrimp, tell someone you know to hang out with the shrimp lady and learn about how social impact in private sector and invite us to be a part of the conversation. I know that San Diego is a very rich climate for nonprofits, and some of those are doing binational and international work. And I've been very lucky to get invited to some of those tables, but I look forward to being a part of more. And just to think about in the day to day, who do you know and who can you connect people with? Because that currency goes so far, especially for a new leader. So I know that you've made some really great connections and we've talked about that. And I'm very, very grateful for that.
So if you had $1 million just landed on your lap right now, today, here you go, Maxie, Dr. Maxie. What would you do with $1 million?
Well, I would seed an endowment for the Wilson Medical Fund. Victor Wilson, who passed about a week before I joined this organization, was really the impulse of bringing what was happening in Honduras to the US. And his daughters that are living are now involved in kind of spreading this. And we want to create something in his honor so that this can continue the rural health work that we do, the maternal health. We have patients with epilepsy getting medication for the first time, children that are getting lab tests for dengue that saves their lives. And I want to make sure that I seed support that will continue wherever it is that I end up and that others end up in this world. That is my hope, is to build a Wilson Medical Fund that will support rural health work and education for those who need it most.
So tell me more. I love that.
Yeah.
This is okay, so if you got that funding and you get this endowment, tell me more about what would actually happen on a daily basis to transform or make folks be like, "Oh my god, I got to be part of that transformation." What would that look like on a daily basis?
Sure. So we're looking forward to having many more volunteer activities, specifically within the health industry. We just launched about a month ago these webinars with the rural doctors for them to share with doctors in the US and for doctors in the US to share new strategies and tools to make sure that we're providing the best quality healthcare. So we want to continue to expand that. It really shouldn't be about geography and income opportunities that
Mm.
are going to change that trajectory for an individual's life. And I mean, a portion of that, I really want to raise up and create spaces for the families and the parents of the children that they fight for these opportunities for their kids to share that story. We applied for a grant recently that is actually around how do you learn from international health systems to improve health equity in the US. And I thought it was a
Mm.
really fascinating concept because we're often exporting our ideas as if we know best here in the US, arguing that the US is a makeup of so many different communities and cultures that have these origin stories and history. And so to be able to seed more of that work, cross cultural exchange, so that Latino and Honduran communities in the US are receiving healthcare that is culturally conscious and related to their experiences, which may not have been always in a traditional health system. So I think promoting a lot more of those exchanges, getting people to come and see and meet our dentist. Her name is Dr. Candida or Dr. Candy, and she is just
No way, no way.
she she packs up her dental gear and travels to 8 different rural clinics. If you, we made a little story of her journey every day on our website and unpacks and fixes smiles and just transforms, that sense of dignity and joy. I wanna share what we're doing with
Okay,
others, and I want others
wait.
to
I
help
think
us
you're
learn.
I think you're, glossing over what you just said. That is really cool. So wait, hold on. Her name is Dr. Candy?
Dr. Candida, she goes by Dr. Candy, and she is
That's
an incredible.
amazing. Hold on. People need to hear this. And she helps fix smiles of those that she supports.
Yes, we
I'm
provided
sorry.
over
Karen,
15,000.
take my money. That
Okay.
sounds right? Like, right there, you've landed on something I feel like is something that our listeners are trying to say, like, "What can I do today?" Doctor Candy, best name ever, is gonna go and help someone have a smile, have the confidence. I mean, talk about cross international healthcare, right? You're coming and providing a resource to support someone who really needs access to healthcare that they wouldn't have had otherwise. And that is a prime example of how someone could say, here's how my $500 went to, and probably did a lot of more people will probably be helped with that $500 in Honduras than here, right? And that is changing a smile, a life, a trajectory that we couldn't even imagine here in the United
Yeah.
States.
There's a lot of need everywhere, but we are able to ensure through some of our partnerships that the money goes a lot further. For every dollar, we have $100 in donated medicine. We have a $21 million shipment of medicine on its way to Honduras, and it only costs $40,000 to get it there.
Okay, wait.
$40,000
Say
and
that
great
again.
people.
Say that again. That is your selling point right now. We should have started there. Like,
Well, we start
that's
with
so cool.
people. We start with the
No,
people.
you start with the impact. Yes, of course, like, people are wanting to hear that, but what you just said is the crutch to everything you're doing. Say it again.
We have a shipment of 21 million in donated medicine from MAP International on its way on a boat to Honduras, and it cost us $40,000 to get it there.
Amazing. Amazing.
Thank you.
right? We want to continue to support the work you're doing. We want to make sure folks are getting access. So if there's someone who's listening right now and being like, sorry, I live in San Diego, I live in California, I live in the United States, we've got our own problems. Why should I be investing in a country that's not mine?
Yeah, it's a great question and one that we talk about regularly. The world and the globe is very interconnected. A lot of our food comes from Central and Latin America. We have communities here that are deeply connected. I myself have for a long time worked in supporting children and as they navigate migration experiences. And those are the same children that are here in the United States and moving back and forth. We're part of a nexus. We're all connected. And so it's not about this child or that. And it's about ensuring, when you were born, you don't choose to be born, but you should have all of those opportunities and pathways because you're just a baby. And I myself plan to be a mom in the next few years. And I feel very strongly if I get to raise my children here in San Diego, what a gift. Why should not every child have that gift and opportunity? So it's just about thinking about people, not necessarily about where we're from. And the need does, of course, exist everywhere.
I love that because, yes, we hear that a lot. You can drive around San Diego or any community in the United States and you see homelessness, you see all sorts of things. We want to help those who are unsheltered. We want to do the things that are helping our backyard. But then you've got an amazing opportunity to help someone else that's not
It's an
in our backyard.
and, it's not an or.
Yeah, exactly, right? So, what I heard you say just a few minutes ago is that you're also leveraging what you learn through research, through science, and sharing that cross border, which I think is really impactful. And I hope those who are listening is saying, you may be investing in an opportunity that could be helpful here, but also helpful elsewhere, and vice versa. We may find something that happens in Honduras that we can now use in the United States that can elevate and support and strengthen communities and families in a way we've never ever seen before. And that's the magic of what you're doing, right? So it's not that well, I'm just raising money for another country and doing cool work and saving the shrimp so we can all eat them later. Yes, and right, we're also learning, right? Through research, through collaboration, through all of these means that you're doing and your organization is really leveraging those resources to make sure that we as humans are benefiting from all of those opportunities. And it's not singular of like, I spent my $500 and I'm helping this family and these things happen here. Yes, and we're also learning from what's happening there to replicate or benefit here in the United States to do the same work or elsewhere, right? Across the whole planet. Let's be serious. I love that we are a species, we're humans, right? We want to care and love and benefit all. And if we really say we care about the unsheltered person on our street corner, if we really believe that, we also care about the unsheltered person in Honduras or anywhere else, if we really believe that. And
Mhm.
we do, but we have to open our minds to think about that way.
I have learned a lot from leaders like you and others in the community for how to do that well, and I'm definitely on a new leadership journey in this role, so I also, invite others to share advice as I navigate how to do that best, but I'm grateful to be able to share a little bit of what I've learned and what excites me on the day to day. I was thinking a lot about this before our conversation and thinking about the struggles that I go through in taking on a new leadership role and stepping into that opportunity and power. And I think for a long time, I've grappled with who am I to be doing this work? I'll call that out my positionality, who I am, where I'm from, the opportunities. And in some ways, it tells me that it shouldn't be me. And I've had to do a lot of work on that. And I'm still actively every day doing that work to determine what it is that I have to offer, what it is that I can add to the conversation. Even just this, John, being in front of the screen and being the one talking about this, everything in me wanted to be one of the Honduran team members. Everything. Because that's the kind of leader I always have been and I have always wanted to be, is to put the community first. And ultimately, to do my job well, to support their work, I actually have to step into being a little bit more in the limelight than I'm comfortable with. I mean, you might not feel it or see it, but we talked about it a little bit before we started, those nerves is this isn't the seat I want to be in. I want someone else to be here sharing the story, but I have to own that me taking this role will help the work actually happen and navigate the imposter syndrome, the questioning of who I am and what I'm doing on every day, honestly.
So you have a doctorate. Congrats. What is your
Thanks.
doctorate in? Of
Education, I studied the experiences of Honduran migrants in Mexico and how we can integrate them into schools.
course you did.
I love Honduras, I love Mexico, and I love children.
I love this so much. Okay, so you have this innate, like, just connection and like the education piece to it. You're connected, right? Which is awesome. Most people don't. So my biggest push here is why? Like, why should we support the work you're doing? We've heard it. We've heard all the cool stuff you're doing, but like hone in on like why. Just in San Diego, there's 13,000 nonprofits to support, right? Across the United States, hundreds of thousands, not way, 1.2 million organizations. Like, why support Honduras? Like, what would be your selling point to us as those listening right now to be like, I'm gonna go to your website, I'm gonna donate 50. Why? I'm sure it's not an easy answer.
There are so
But
many
like
whys,
but like
but
you but and I will preface this and give you some time to think about your answer because I'm saying this because I know our listeners and I know they care
Mhm,
and they don't they trust who I bring onto the show. And so Dr.
mhm.
Maxie is very cool if I haven't said this already. But, like, what you're doing is really important, and it's not just trickle down, it's trickle up, like, there's so much happening, and what you're doing and I just had this conversation with Todd Tibbetts, who is the CEO of the YMCA in San Diego, and the cross-border stuff that's happening, and people are like, "Why are you doing this? Like, shouldn't you be focusing on San Diego?" And all like, these are multiple conversations that are happening, like, all over, right? So that's why I'm honing in on this, and I'm not like saying this
It's
in a
okay.
negative way, but like I think we as humans need to open our minds and our wallets, right? To understand that just helping those in your community is wonderful. Love that. Yes. And opportunity on a grander scale to understand what you're really trying to do, right? Like you are telling us here for the last, 45 minutes of saying what we're doing is not just helping XYZ do XYZ. You are literally creating this trajectory for research, science that is global. That is amazing, right? People are looking for transformational change. They sure want to help someone and make them feel like they did something good today. But
Mhm.
what you are offering to our listeners is something truly transformational. That's why I'm excited that you're on the show today because it's like, sure, yeah, you care about shrimp, you care about turtles, you get a cute little pin, sure. Yes, and right? Because this is gonna have impacts for generations.
Yeah.
That's the cool thing that you're doing.
That's the piece I think I'd love to talk about and thinking about kids everywhere, which I said was the spark that originally started it and continues to drive that, is I want to talk about Norlan, who is a 3-year-old from one of our communities. And was speaking with his mom the other day, and he woke up with a fever. And this child, a child that wakes up with a fever, the parent, I mean, she just shared how worried she was. And they went to the hospital and weren't able to receive care, waited all day, did the test results and, the equivalent of about $70 in transit in a day, which is a lot of money for this area. And the doctor wasn't able to read the test results. The next day, frustrated, they decided to go to the local clinic that Fundesur had rebuilt and a laboratory that just inaugurated. They got the test results. They figured out it was dengue. They gave the child the medicine free of charge that he needed. And 5 days later, through follow-up, Norlan and his mom Belkis are able to continue on in their lives, enter into kindergarten. And that is a child whose trajectory we have changed through a matter of what likely in total was $100 donation over 5 days just by how
Uh,
much the money goes. The
wow.
doctor's visit, the medical consultations, the lab work. I mean, obviously, the infrastructure that the shrimp have built in the region is already there. It's just the added little sazon, the spice on top that we're adding through this work. And Nordland can be anything. He can do anything. But in this community, children who have dengue under the age of 15 die. And so generational changes happen in small moments. And those are the moments that guide me, that I feel privileged to be able to share. There are so many other Nordlands in the world, and I think anybody who is a parent can identify that moment of gripping fear when a child wakes up with a fever. So I think I want to kind of leave it grounded in the why is the who and the who is the what. And not to go all Dr. Seuss on us here, but it kind of guides us back to that for the day to day, what gets me
Yeah.
excited.
Well, at Good for Others, we believe leadership is all about service. And clearly you're doing that on a daily basis. And I love that. So thank you for that. What does doing good for others mean to you personally?
It means listening and acting, choosing to act when there's the opportunity to do so. We don't all have the same opportunities to do so, but we can all do it in our small little ways in the day to day.
All right. So now it's time for our three wishes segment. So imagine there's a genie here and you're going to get three wishes from this genie. What would be your first wish?
I wish for San Diego Advisory Board and board members to walk alongside me in this journey. I have the gift of board members based in other states, but I plan to stay here. I have family here in my personal journey, and they had some health issues. So I want to build my San Diego community. And so I know that I'm going to be coming to you for that as well. So that's my first wish.
I love that.
My second wish is to ensure that no child goes hungry, that no child dies from lack of access to healthcare wherever they are in the world. And just those really vulnerable, and these are in no particular order, they're just what's coming to mind, that vulnerable ages and growth and stages that we went through. And, then they can choose their future and opportunity from there. And three would be, I just rewatched Aladdin, so it's to set the genie free. Set the genie free so that people are not trapped within institutions that don't support them, and politics and policies that keep people in their little lamps and cages, and set people free to grant wishes to each other in the day to day and to just be good and do good for others.
Dr. Maxie, I have to say, I've heard a lot of these wishes because we do it on every segment. And that's the most wonderful and fills my heart answer. So thank you.
Thank you.
But and I've never done this before, but I'm going to ask you a fourth wish. I want a Dr. Maxie personal wish. What would you make?
I
Personal.
wish for my future children that will be coming in the next year or two to be healthy and wonderful and want to give back and make the world a better place. Being a mom is a
I'm
huge
sure
part of that future
as their
journey. So
mother, that will definitely be ingrained in them at a very early age. And I might be a little jealous of your future children because I think that they are going to have an amazing mom who cares so deeply about humanity and love and care for one another that they are going to be have the coolest mom ever. So just so you know that, that's just me.
thank you, John. That means a lot.
You are awesome. Hello. Dr. Maxie on my show today. Okay. All right. So that's it for today's show. Dr. Maxie, I'm so honored, privileged, and just full of happiness, butterflies, and all the cool things. Let's throw shrimp in there. All the cool things that just make me so honored and amazed at the work you do to support all of those that you are helping the families, the communities, the countries, the research, the science, all of those things that what you're doing on a daily basis is just magical. And so I just want to personally pause and say thank you for what you're doing and your organization, because I really believe those listening here today might actually think, wow, I do care about San Diego or California or United States type of nonprofit work, but oh, wait, there's some other really cool stuff happening that I could also be connected to. And so thank you for that. And I'm so honored that you gave me this time in your day. And I'm just grateful for our friendship and our partnership. And I hope that those who are listening right now will be excited to go to your website. What is your website? Tell everyone, please.
Friends of Fundesur, FUNDESUR.org.
Oh, great. So Google it, go there. You can go to our website, goodfrothers.org, find the link to her website on your social media and all of our different podcasts. You'll see the link to Dr. Maxie Gluckman and all the great work she's doing. So, again, just one more time, thank you for being here, friend. We're really excited. I do have to do a plug for the Good for Others nonprofit hub, which is now active on the Apple Store and the Google Play Store. Download our app, find out opportunities where you can support organizations like Dr. Maxie Gluckman's, or anything that's locally in your community. We want you to be able to see opportunities for events and jobs. If those that you're listening want a job in the nonprofit space, you can go work for Dr. Maxie one day. So again, Dr. Maxie, thank you so much for being here. Those listening, please go to our website, goodfrothers.org, to learn more. Follow Dr. Maxie on her socials. She's awesome and fun. And as always, we hope you heard something today that inspires you to do good for others.
Thank you.